Okay, folks, thank you very much for our first meeting of the CCNA Cyberops class that we have here at Stanley Community College Instructor Training Center. Super excited to have this class because it is one of the first ITC classes around. Plus, it's a chance for all of us to go through this and get it going and have it up and running at your schools as soon as possible. I'm also excited about this class because I think it really does slot into a different position compared to anything that we've had in the academy before. This is a full 70-hour course. It maps to certification. So one of the first things I want to do is kind of, again, guide you through what we do in terms of how I work a class. You'll notice that under modules, I've added some things now. So up at the top here, I put in the instructor PowerPoints. One of you requested those, so I went ahead and put those in there for you. I've also loaded the student lab source files, which are all of the lab files in Word format. So if you have trouble with the PDFs and filling the PDFs in, you can actually open up the Word documents for the labs and just put your information into the Word documents and upload the Word documents. These items here, this is a WebEx session from the IPD Week, Global IPD Week, and so is this. And I added these two in here. They're actually under the instructor resources that you will have available. And then I brought in the CyberOps overview and the FAQ that we will review and be looking at here in a minute. Then you'll see as you look at a chapter again, you'll read the chapters. And then in each individual chapter, I have labs. And if there are packet traces, packet traces. This particular chapter or this particular class does not have a great number of packet tracers. I did get a question about how I grade. Typically, I go in and set my amounts for the class, but for some reason in this particular item, I'm not able to change, and I've got to report this. You know, normally you can change the percentages for each one of these items for the group, but I am not able to do so. So that's something we'll have to investigate as I go through, because usually you just go in here and there's a percentage that you have for each one of these. So we'll get that figured out, and that usually becomes part of your grade. This setup that I have here with all of these links to the assignments and then an upload. At the end of the course, I will be giving you access to this as a course export from Canvas, and then you can use my video on how to actually upload the information into a Canvas course, so you will not have to recreate all this for yourself. In addition, I did down in Lab 12, there are 2 short MP4s that were created to go along with the labs to kind of help you with these labs. So when you get down here, I've put these in. So my goal is to save you as much time as I can in actually creating these courses so that you don't have to spend hours and hours doing all of these different items. All right. Now, what I want to do is start out with opening up and taking a peek at something you may or may not have already looked at. And if everyone's looked at this, I won't waste too much of our time, but I do want to kind of not only go through this course in terms of helping you to learn the material, which, by the way, in chapter one is so simple, I really don't even need to go over it. So this gives me some time to go over this particular item. But I want to talk about where this course slots into the academy, some pathways, and then some ideas as we can share here on our meeting. Make sure I am recording. I'm scared I wasn't meeting. So this is, in fact, a full 70-hour course. It is one of the first courses, as Echo has said many times, that has come out that requires full instructor training. It is a course that, to me, has a huge breadth of knowledge because it covers so many different areas, and it deals with how cybersecurity is disrupting everything. Pretty much, I don't need to spend much time with you knowing what or if there are any jobs out there for cybersecurity. If you go to Indeed.com and you look up cybersecurity, and I'm just going to do cybersecurity, and I'm going to look in my local area. I was looking in Virginia Beach because I was doing some work with a school there. And I'll look at Charlotte, North Carolina, and there are 323 jobs right now in Charlotte, North Carolina for cybersecurity analysts. This level 1 analyst is what we're really building students for. It's for a level 1 analyst in this particular Info Security Analyst 1. This is exactly what this course is designed to get a student a job in. Okay, so you can see here, you got one or more of those certifications, but if they had the CCNA Cyberops, they would definitely be also in line for this particular job. We have, in the latest certification magazine I got, CCNA Cyberops was listed as one of the hotter certifications out there. You will see this does map into the portfolio for Career Ready because it maps directly to a certification, industry level certification. Now, many of us teach CCNA security, and so we're asking, why do we need CCNA Cyberops? They are very different beasts. CCNA security looks at how you secure the network using network knowledge that you have with CCNA. Cyberops looks at how am I going to do incident management, incident response, how am I going to be that tier 1 security operations center analyst. So it's a very different thing than someone with CCNA security. Now, as we go down here, obviously it's 70-hour, it's an instructor-led course. I'm not going to, this is marketing here. You wouldn't be in the class if you didn't already believe you need to be teaching it. But I want to look at some of these pathways, and I'm going to give you my recommendations. I don't think this pathway will work right here, to be quite honest with you. If you were only to have a student do Introduction to Cybersecurity, Cybersecurity Essentials, and then jump into CCNA Cyberops, you're going to notice when you hit Chapter 2 that Chapter 2 is a big chapter on Windows and the Windows operating system. Chapter 3 is a big chapter on Linux and the Linux operating system. 4 is a massive chapter on just networking. I'm very scared if someone tried to take this path right here, they would not be successful or as successful as they could be in the CCNA Cyberops class. So to me, this is use at your own risk. This is where I think you can become, you can really start getting the meat and potatoes. And that is, you've got Introduction to Cybersecurity and Linux Essentials, okay? And now I know they got Networking Essentials here, but quite honestly, I would do Introduction to Networks, so that first Cisco class instead of Networking Essentials. Then, somebody have a comment? Guess people just coming in. Then IT Essentials, Cybersecurity Essentials, and then Cyberops, okay? So notice here in this path, you don't even have to have the CCNA. Now again, I would probably replace this with Introduction to Network simply because they cover the same material and intro goes a little more in depth. But this is definitely a pathway that is viable. Here's another pathway. This is what many of you will do, which is Introduction to Cybersecurity, Cybersecurity Essentials, maybe an A+, some kind of Linux Essentials, then do the CCNA 1 and 2, then do the Cyberops. Again, you're getting the Linux skills you need, you're getting the networking skills. The only thing you're not getting in either one of these pathways, you get a little bit with IT Essentials up here, but you're not getting many of the Windows skills that you might would need. Okay?
It's okay, I'll fix it.
Okay, if you will, please mute yourself. I think I can mute everybody.
Hey, Kelly, this is Patrick. I actually do have a question. You mentioned Linux Essentials there. I know that there's also a Linux unhatched. I take it right. The Linux is a little bit deeper course, though, right?
Yes, Linux Essentials is a little bit deeper. It's pretty much deeper than Linux Unhatched. And one of the things I don't know if many of you are aware of, but the NDG did just drop the cost of Linux 1 and Linux 2 to $29.95 a piece. So if you need a Linux track to teach, that's a pretty cheap way to do it. And also the Red Hat Academy is now free. So if you contact the Red Hat folks at the Red Hat Academy and want to start using the Red Hat Academy, it is free now. So that's another possible route to look at. This is, especially at a 4-year or maybe this is kind of where we're going to go, but we're going to go with Intro to Cybersecurity and Cybersecurity Essentials in a Sec 110 class. Okay, so security, for us, Sec 110 is Security Plus. They will take IT Essentials because that's a required course in our curriculum. Then they will take all 4 of these courses, so all the way through CCNA. Then we're going to have them take CyberOps and security, if we can work them in, and that's really kind of the thing. If we can't work it in, I'm going to be quite honestly, I'm going to probably teach CyberOps instead of CCNA security, simply because I think it is preparing students for the jobs that are out there right now. Okay, so I got a good question here. It says, where does Python fit in here? I have a director of a SOC tell us to teach Python. Python, when you look right here, that is one of the possible pathways, introduction to cybersecurity, and then teach the Python class, because you do know there is a Python class inside of the NetAcad, and then do Linux Essentials, Cybersecurity Essentials, and then use that path. Okay. So Python is a possible pathway.
Good.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Laura? Anybody else hearing that same thing? I'm hearing Python's hot regardless, that you need to have Python skills. Yeah. Basically, everybody wants you to know Python.
Yep.
Okay. Be able to be successful in this class, first off, you do not need any Cisco equipment whatsoever. You do need PCs that are pretty stout PCs to run the different virtual machines. We do expect PC and navigational skills, basic Windows, Linux concepts, basic networking, a very minor binary and hexadecimal understanding. So, and honestly, they would have that from introduction networks. Basic programming concepts, basic SQL queries, and again, not anything. It's just how to do a query. You know, how to add 2 things together in a search, and then a little bit of familiarity with Packet Tracer, but they can also get that as part of the class. That's not something that is they've got to come to the class with that information. So let's take a quick look here at the structure of the class. It is 13 chapters. You can see the first chapter is kind of the fluff intro chapter, still good, but a fluff chapter. Chapter 2 and 3 deal with the Windows operating systems, file systems, processes, how things work. The Linux operating system deals with those same items for the Linux operating systems. So those are the knowledges that you would get with IT Essentials, Linux Essentials knowledge. The networking protocols and network infrastructure, that is straight out of the students with ITN, and a little bit of the routing switching essentials information. The principles of security, network attacks, protecting the network, cryptography, and public key. Many of those are brought out of cybersecurity fundamentals and cybersecurity essentials. Some of that is a little bit of CCNA security, but most of that's actually been brought down into CCNA now. Then you get into this endpoint analysis, security monitoring, incident data, and incident response that has no real analog in anything we've done to this point. So, you know, you're working with SQL, you're working with looking at Bro, you're looking at Miner, you're actually looking at things in Security Onion and learning how to run a SIM system, so a security information and event management system, or incident and event management system. There will be books if you have to have books and want books. Here is the dates that they are expected to be out. You know how that is. I wouldn't necessarily hold my breath. You've got to have training. You know that. You're all here. We're doing this instructor trainer remote led. That's what we're doing in this class. It's the fastest way for us to do it. Right now, again, there are no NetLabs labs for this. You will have to be building this environment for yourself. So right now, you should have an environment that has the VirtualBox loaded and the CCNA Cyberops workstation machine inside of it. And then later down the road, we will actually build out a multi-VM system. So be aware that right now, everything has to be run inside of this, which honestly, for many of you who don't have NetLabs, this is a great way for you to do the class because this is how you're going to teach it in your classroom. If you do have NetLabs, be aware they're working on the labs. I have no ETA on it at all, but hopefully the sooner the better. So here's great news. You complete it, do a 75% on the multiple choice final, and then I will accredit you. You do have to have an instructor trainer role or instructor role at your school, which all of you should already have that. If somebody's already CCNA Cyberops certified, then there is an option for that. And instructor trainers, any of you on this call that are instructor trainers, once you complete this training, all you'll have to do is go and contact Karen and she can give you your instructor training ability. Okay. Now, we do have PowerPoints, there's a fact, there's additional resources, scope and sequence documents, all that is available. If you go into MyNetAcad and you go to course resources, and all of it is available underneath the CCNA Cybersecurity Operations. Okay.
Okay.
Last but not, excuse me? Somebody have a question? Last but not least, there will be vouchers, okay? They are not going to be available till June, which this class technically ends May 9th, okay? I really am not going to close the NetAcad on May 9th. In fact, I'll keep it open through the end of May, that way to make sure everybody gets finished and gets done. Then, when you make a 75 or higher on the first attempt of your final exam, which you should because I took it and it's not that difficult, and I complete you, you will then be able to actually get a 70% discount on both the Sec Fundamentals and the SecOps exam. So this particular certification does require 2 exams. It requires 210-250, which is the Sec Fundamentals, and 210-255, which is the SecOps certification. I know there are some on this call who have already passed Sec Fund. I'll be honest with you, I haven't done mine yet. I am working on it, and it is on my to-do list. I just got to quit traveling so much. I was in Virginia last week at a cybersecurity meeting, and I was in Raleigh yesterday at a veterans meeting. So past 2 weeks have been a bit of traveling. But you will get a discount if you meet these requirements. And your students who take this course will also get the same thing. So that's coming, and it's going to be available. So I think that's really, really nice. Anybody on here, since I know, Gay, you're an instructor trainer, we get an 80% discount. So there are some advantages. So again, kind of blow through this. This is what you need, a computer. The more memory, the better. You need at least 8 gigs to run it with a standard format, and then you can do it with 4, but I would strongly recommend the faster the better. They do want an i7 with virtualization support. By the way, I downloaded, let me go find it. Microsoft has a tool, and I got to find it. It's in here somewhere. It's a HAV detection tool that you can download off Microsoft's site. And if your machine has hardware-assisted virtualization turned on, it will tell you. So this tells me, yes, it is configured. If you don't have it turned on, you have to go into BIOS and turn it on. Most modern machines will have it turned on now. Occasionally, you'll find one that's got it turned off for whatever reason. So be aware of that. You do want the latest version of Oracle VirtualBox and window experience of 6.5 if you got it. It says 7.0. 7.11 is the latest version, and now it will actually work fine with the packet tracer security assessment. We will eventually have 4 VMs. All right. We have the CyberOps VM workstation, which takes 7 gigs of disk space and 1 gig of RAM. You've got Kali Linux, which takes 10 gigs and 1 gig of RAM. Metasploitable has 8 gigs and 512, and then Security Onion, this is the one that takes a little more, 10 gigs and then 4 gigs. So you're looking basically at 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 gigs just to run the VMs. I know some of you probably don't have laptops that have that kind of speed or that kind of RAM in it, but if your desktops, hopefully in your labs will. If you've got a decent lab computer, it should run this fairly easily. For most of the labs, chapters 1 through 10, we will only have 1 VM running anyway. So the issues will be once we hit chapters 11 through 13 and you're having to build this multi-host environment. By the way, I'll walk you through it in a lab, so don't freak out right now. Other questions I've been asked, okay, there, James just dropped it. Are there any plans to adapt it to VMware? At this point, no, not directly from Cisco. You have to understand is if NetLabs labs are created for CyberOps, they will have to be converted, or they must be converted to be an OVA that can be used on ESXi. So once those OVAs are created on ESXi, you can then move it over. Now James Bishop's actually working on manipulating the OVAs to make them usable inside a VMware workstation. At this point, you cannot just import the OVAs into VMware workstation and they work. So the good news is VirtualBox and VMware workstation will coexist perfectly fine on a machine. But I do understand some people have already got VMware workstation installed, and so they want to use that. But as this course develops and continues to go on, I think we'll see alternatives where people roll out OVAs for VMware workstation. By the way, if you don't know about BeMap, the BeMap program allows you to download and use VMware products for $250 per year. So if you don't know about BeMap, I would definitely say take a look at that. So just real quick, course outline again: introduction, Windows, Linux, protocols, infrastructure, principles, so methods and tools that threat actors use. Network attacks, looking at different types of services. I had a guy yesterday tell me at Cisco, he was over their SOC, and he said one of the things students need to be able to read Wireshark. They need to be able to look into Wireshark and understand what's going on with the protocols. This class does that, which is something. You know, he said also need to be able to look at Bro, which is one of the tools we use, and tell me what's going on. This class does that. So it was kind of interesting to talk to him and see that this class actually does exactly what is needed for the security operation folks. All of this leads to you taking a hands-on test where I will give you a Security Onion image. In that will be an attack that has already taken place, and you have to do a detailed analysis of that attack. I will not lie to you. It took me a very long time to do that hands-on final. It took me about 12 hours of researching, of looking, of just trying to figure out exactly what was going on. So it's not going to be one of those hands-on finals you'll be able to finish in 3 days. In fact, I will give it to you a couple weeks before the class ends so you can start playing with it and looking at it, because it is pretty detailed. It's more of I almost call it more of a case study than a hands-on final, the way we think it, we have thought of it in the past, because you're not doing any configuration, you're doing investigation, which again takes us back to the difference in this class versus other classes. Folks, do you have any questions for me about what I've talked about in this overall introduction to CyberOps.
Oh.
What other assignments? I expect you to do the written assignments. So all of the labs, I do want those done. The labs and the packet tracers. So those are, that was the question, what assignments do I expect besides chapter and final exams? I want the labs completed, which I know is a lot of work, but that is, again, why I'm going to leave it open past May 9th. Because I got 41 people who've already turned in the first labs, or 42. Hey, perfect number. Well, it's the answer. We just don't know what the question is. So I've got 42 people. This will be a different class for you grading too, folks, because it's going to be a little more work. This feels to me a whole lot more like an English class than it does a pure computer class, because you've got to do so much research and so much writing, which is not a bad thing, because when you're doing incident management, that's one of the things you're going to do. Other questions on overall?
No.
One thing, let me show you this. If you look under modules, you will see that I do have due dates on everything. Okay? Do not freak out. That's one of my #1 rules in my instructor trainer classes. We do not allow freaking out. All right? I put dates on here because if you're like me and I have no dates, I'm lazy. Okay? If I have some dates, it at least prods me a little bit. If you miss getting these done for, you turn in lab 114 on the 10th of March instead of the 4th of March, the only thing that's going to make me do is have to go back and look at those, chapter 1 labs again. So these are not set in stone. I'm not going to mark you off and give you a 0. Now, if you were one of my students, yeah, I would give you a 0. But you're an instructor teaching full-time, so I understand. Just be aware these are some suggested times to get them done so that you can stay on track and not end up in May, right before courses end, about to have a heart attack about the amount of stuff you need to get done. All right. The question was, not sure if you mentioned this, but is that slide pres available? Yes, it is right here under the course introduction. I have the CCNA 1 overview right here. I also have the fact, which is the CCNA fact that you can download. It goes through questions about what a CCNA operates, basically everything that was in the other one, just in a frequently asked questions.
Okay, they're right there.
Showing the discount rates, showing everything. Okay, what PC is needed for the lab. So this is just a more condensed version of what we went through in the other PDF. Okay.
Okay.
Both of those are available under the introduction module, course introduction module. All right, other questions before we jump into chapter 1? Nope. Okay. Well, here's the good news. A lot of what's in chapter 1 you know already. You know about people being hijacked. You know about ransom companies with, their information being encrypted. About cryptoware, ransomware, it's all over the place. There's every single day, it seems like someone else has been compromised. This is a big one. I just heard something about, well, we know for a fact that the Russians were responsible for attacking the Olympics. So they attacked the Olympics and shut down part of the ticketing machines before the opening ceremonies. They were also responsible for doing, well, it wasn't the Russians. It's a hacking group closely related to the Russians. So, be that as it may. But targeted nations and nations are starting to be targeted with things like Stuxnet, with individual, very specifically created pieces of malware for a purpose. It's a real slippery slope because there's very few rules of engagement. We have rules of engagement in actual warfare on, we don't, okay, if you're civilized, you don't bomb civilians, or you try your best not to bomb civilians. The problem is what happens when you create a piece of malware designed to destroy a government's computer systems, and it goes out and destroys, 10,000 business systems. Very hard, very, very hard thing to, to say where that ruling is. That an act of war? Don't know yet. We really just simply don't know. We're in an environment now where many of the things that are changing, I don't know if any of you have read about, this scares me to absolute death, but the Chinese putting artificial intelligence on their submarines to help them make better decisions about tactical decisions. If that's not straight to Skynet, I don't know what is. So it scares me. Here's a good, you can actually watch this film, 0-day film. You can actually go watch it and or buy it DVD, so you can actually buy it and watch it. But it's about 0 days. It's about Stuxnet. So. Come on. Doo-doo-doo. I said, come on.
You're going to watch the trailer?
You'll make me have to reboot my machine.
Are you going to have us watch the trailer, Kelly?
Do what?
Are you going to have us watch the trailer?
Nah, it'll be all right. There, I got back control. All right. Hopefully you watched my lab on how to do this, installing the CyberOps. By the way, I just uploaded another video for one of my classes. This is for CCNA. Be aware on my YouTube channel. Let me copy this out real quick. I need that on a notepad. Okay, I got that. Be aware on my YouTube channel, I follow a policy of just in time. My YouTube videos are not very snazzy. They're not pretty. I mean, anything's got me or my voice in it's not pretty, so I don't have to worry about that. But inside of here is where, in your spring classes, this is where I will be uploading your information. And I'll also have, here's the CyberOps lab that I did for you. It actually shows you how to do the lab, how to walk through it, and full installation. So anything that is going to be for the spring classes will be here. If for some reason you want to go back and look at other classes, there are other items here. I've got some ASC ITC tutorials, like how to import the core shells, how to do packet tracer assessment check. I got some other things in here. Of course, I've also got some, if you like to watch, dogs retrieve ducks, I got that. This is pretty cool. This is the World Skills flag on board the International Space Station. That's actually going to be flown to across the world as part of the World Skills contest that will take place in Russia. So, all right. So, moving on here. I'm not going to spend much time at Hacktivist and all of this. I really want to get to these two things. One of the things I want you to really pay attention to is this. PII, okay, which is personally identifiable information, and then PHI, which is protected health information. So that's very important. So PII is how you can be identified: name, social security number, birth date, credit card numbers, bank accounts, all those. And then protected health information is that information that is considered as needing to be protected under HIPAA. So know those two and know the difference, and that one is personally identifiable and one is protected health information, and how it works and why they're important. This is really where I want to go, and that is, what is a Security Operations Center and how does it work? You've got these processes in place for how you handle incidents. You've got people working at different levels, and then you've got your systems that are used to help in this Security Operations Center. Now, Cisco has a managed services area where they will actually go in, and here's a SOC where people are sitting and watching things. And you can actually buy, a SOC. You can buy a company to manage and watch your network. So you've got a global 24-hour day, 7-day a week. If you don't want to build your own, you can buy it. But, you know, that's not going to be cheap. But in some cases, that may be the way to go. Here are the people in a SOC. Now notice, you got Tier 1 alert analysts. These are the people responsible for watching the technology systems and determining whether or not an alert is an actual alert. Is it a, you know, is it a true positive or a false positive? Is it, maybe it's a false negative? So these folks are watching the alerts, and then depending on policy, they will either remediate it or do something with the ticket, or they will forward it up to a Tier 2 incident responder, who is someone who will do a deep dive on the incident and make a decision about remediation and about what needs to be done. These Tier 2s can pull in SMEs. They can pull in, so let's say Tier 1 analyst sees a new form of malware come in on a machine. Knowing that's a very big problem, they'll push it immediately to Tier 2. Well, the Tier 2 person has never seen this type of malware before, so they would probably engage the SME hunter, the malware expert, to then help, and those two would work together to figure out some type of remediation. This information would also be passed up to the SOC manager, who is the person responsible for managing everybody, and is more than likely underneath the Chief Technology Officer, or the Chief Information Security Officer. Now, this, yes? Questions? Anybody?
No.
Okay. This class prepares your students to be right here in these green boxes. It prepares them to be Tier 1 alert analysts. So they're going to be SOC level 1. Now, I just had a buddy of mine move from level 1 to level 2 at a bank, and he's been there for a good while. So, and he made really good money at level 1 because they had him as an hourly employee instead of a salaried employee. So there are good jobs right here at Tier 1.
Kelly, got a question.
Shoot.
So I've been telling my folks that those entry-level positions are difficult to get, even if you have, you know, got a, say, an associate degree or something like that. What have you been telling folks as far as how to get those first-level jobs?
I'll be quite honest with you. I agree with you for two-year community college people that it's been difficult for them to get jobs in the SOC. I think this course, Harry's going to go a long way to helping that. I think honestly part of it was what we were teaching them. We were not teaching them the information they needed to become a Tier 1 analyst. I know I wasn't, okay? I was teaching CCNA security, and CCNA security is not what you need to be a SOC level 1 analyst. I wasn't teaching enough Linux, and so that's something we're rectifying here. So that's, personally, that's where I see that it was a failing in my curriculum. I'm not saying that's your case because you may have been teaching something totally different. I heard some good talk yesterday about, how many of you have heard of ISSA? It's there's a big group there in Durham. There's a big group at Faytech. There's one in Charlotte. The ISSA is a security organization that is a good place to do networking. But I think this is going to help. I really do. I think this particular course is going to get us closer to what we need for them to be able to get those first level jobs. So, and I also think that, quite honestly, in, let's say, I got to do this because in 4 years ago or 5 years ago when I had a security degree here at Stanley and I actually got rid of it, there were not 323 jobs in Charlotte, North Carolina for security. There may have been 35 jobs for security. You know, let's get crazy. 390 jobs in Durham. So, you know, they're not going to get this Tier 3 job, but they can try here. You know, so I do think this is going to help. I'll be up front with you. I tell all my students the 891 in Atlanta. That's good. I'll show you where it goes crazy. You want to look at some. If you want to see where it goes nuts with jobs, check this out. Look at that. 8,173 jobs in Reston, Virginia, because it's right outside of Washington. Even my folks in Virginia Beach, I showed them this. You know, in Virginia Beach, there are 222 jobs in Virginia Beach. So pretty large number of jobs out there. But I will tell you this too. I always tell my students, I can't guarantee you a job. What we're going to do is try to get you the best skills we can, and then go from there. Anybody else? Yeah, Huntsville, Alabama is good too because they've got a lot of government jobs there. If anybody in this group, that's one of the things that we've got 74 of us that are instructors. If you've got good ideas on how we help students get that first level security job, let's bring it up and let's share it because you know that's a huge thing.
Like a security plus, that's the only thing I think help them get a job.
If they have security clearance?
Security plus.
Class, okay.
Security plus, I think that they can take.
Okay.
For 2 years college, I still suggest for 2 years college student take a security plus.
Definitely, and we're going to run them through multiple classes. That's the hope. You know, using using our pathways. Here again, we see is Tier 1 monitors the incidents, opens tickets, basic threat mitigation at Tier 1. Tier 2 does that deep investigation and advises remediation. And then Tier 3 is your in-depth threat hunters. These folks are sitting up here many times actually doing threat assessment or looking for threats. They're part of a group kind of like, I don't know how many of you have heard of Unit 42.
Yep.
Now, Unit 42 is at Palo Alto. And their mission is actually to sit there and go out and look for emerging threats. And so this, not for any particular reason other than just to let you know, it might be useful to know what an exploit kit is somewhere down the road. This is a really good thing, that, you know, a good site to talk and learn about exploit kits. So Unit 42, if you don't subscribe to their updates, that's a really good idea because they actually send out information. You know, they don't inundate you with it, but they send out good security information out there. Russian BitTorrent sites covertly mining cryptocurrency to its users. Pretty funny. Some of the excuse me. Some of the technologies in the SOC that are there. Obviously, the SIM systems, security information and event management systems, depending on what you use. I was talking with a friend who's learning Splunk. They use Splunk, they have it, but you've got whatever your SIM is, all the information from NetFlow data to network traffic to PCAPs to whatever data you get gets pulled into that SIM system. And then what we're going to learn to do in this class is we're going to learn to how you collect that information, how you monitor it, how you look at logs, how you can take it and pull it down to something that becomes usable. You get so much, but you've got to be able to make it usable. Now, some of the different things Cisco is doing out there, they do have the security incident response team. They've got their managed operations. They've got their TAC ops. Any of you heard of Talos? Talos is their big online threat kind of like database. It's similar to Palo Alto's wildfire system. So it's out there. They're really starting to compete with Palo Alto, you know, using firepower, using firepower management console with their ASA 5506s and higher. Here's some looking at some uptime things that's pretty interesting. Think about this. If you're doing 5 nines of availability, you can be down for 5 minutes, a little over 5 minutes per year. Now, think about that, 5 minutes per year. That's pretty phenomenal. But you got to think too. I know a friend who works at a bank and basically said for every minute the ATM system is down, they lose $1 million. So that's not good. So imagine if that's the kind of environment you work in, then you really have to have a maybe even more than 5 nines, maybe 6 nines. The problem with uptime is anytime the higher your availability, the more money you got to spend. I'm spending over $100,000 on a generator that will allow me to keep my data center up. You know, it takes a lot of money to get to 4 or even 5 nines. You also want to be careful with security to make sure that your security isn't so strong that you can't run your business. So, and that's what I kind of tell people, weigh those 2 items. The more secure something is, the less available it is. But the more available it is, the less secure. So you have to find that balance. Good question. Is there an opportunity to work with NetFlow? There is a little bit of NetFlow in this class. It's mainly done through Packet Tracer, though, not through an actual device. However, after you've learned it, there's no reason you couldn't take the Security Onion OVA and a regular real router and run NetFlow on it and pull data into it. So, yeah, that works pretty good. So, some certifications. You all are going to get your CCNA Cyberops, right?
Yep.
Yes. The answer is yes. Remember, you are a mercenary. Kind of like, that's what I tell my boss. I mean, anybody asks my boss, Merlin, I tell her I'm a mercenary. I work for the highest bidder. As long as I'm happy in my job, I'll stay here. But you always want to keep your skills up to the point to where if you need to make a switch, you can make a switch. Plus, folks, we need to practice what we preach. If we're going to ask our students to keep their certifications, then I am a firm believer that we need to keep our certifications. Is it tough? Yes. Trust me, if I hadn't got my recerted, 3 days before my accident 2 years ago, I would not have my CCNP. I'd had to redo it. But let's all work for that. The other thing that I think is interesting, and I bought the book for it, but CompTIA also just came out with a Security Analyst Plus, CSA Plus, and I think most of the material in this course will prepare you for what's in that course. And that's what you're saying. Well, how does it compare, James? Well, to be honest with you, I just started reading chapter 1 of that book too, so I'm going to compare the 2 and see where they fall. From a quick skim, it looks pretty close to what we need. GIAC, and there are others out there. So, and then degrees, Python if you want to do SDN, software-defined networking. Of course, Indeed and career internships. That's a big thing. One of the things I don't know if you realize, but the Department of Labor has an entire internship program they're working on. Right now they're working with the state of Virginia, so if you're in Virginia, be aware of that. Hopefully that will move out to other states soon. Oh, here's a good one. Very good question right here. It says, your first job, how long should you stay in your first job? I heard somebody say just the other day that if someone's changing jobs every year, that is a very bad thing for them to do. So they say you should try to hold a job for 2 years before you change. Now, if you get let go, that's different. Okay. Rodney had a quick question. Not related to class, how do we as instructors get a WebEx account? Unfortunately, Rodney, the only way we get this account is because we're an Academy Support Center and an Instructor Training Center. So I don't know of any way other than your school to purchase WebEx for you to get an account that you can use. I don't think WebEx has any free instructional accounts, unfortunately. I wish they did, because it is, in my opinion, one of the best products out there for what we do. So, folks, that is the end of Chapter 1 and also the end of our look at the overall framework for CCNA Cyberops, and we did it in right at an hour, which is not too bad. I will be trying to keep our meetings to an hour as best as possible. I won't always be able to do that, but I will try my best. Next week, I've already scheduled the meeting, so we will have Chapter 2, the Windows operating system, and this will probably be something that many of you know more than I do, because my MCSE is in Server 2000, which has been a while back, so I still still maintain some of that, but not a great deal. So we'll go through this and continue on from there. I'm going to stop the recording.